Alright, M&N. Masterman's Note coming at you here. I figured we'd do it up today. We'll do a quick review before we jump into our setup for the day. We're doing some beautiful, I think these are knockdown to 12s, stock out. It's for the order. Given the size of the block, some of you might ask that question, why the extra? You mitigate that on the block and so on and so forth for the orders and line and signs. We got separated out here. We're running greens inside of this stack, pulling the blues off the bottom of it. There's a whole stack of them, so this is a few stacks I run. The Beer and Billy got that running real nice. Like that is like the picture you want in your mascot, right? You want something like this. Obviously, we take this mulch off the floor. Rotations of how much, or like you draw out that mud puddle right there. See that? That's good. Got our line run down here. Looks like we'll have 2-inch 24s, so some 1/2 or inch 24s up top there. One more stack of that to finish out, which I'll be right on here in a few minutes. Gary and Dal killing it on that saw today. They're ripping. So we'll get that done here on this Thursday. Gas is running good. Rock's looking awesome. Good block. Like I said, if it wasn't for that green on top, that would have been given the right orders. But anyway, so I'm sure I've dropped half the class, and that's fine. The ones with hearts will stay here. So obviously last night we're dealing with some stuff. We got an ISIS member. We got a kid who's dropped out of boot camp. We got, I don't know if I posted it last night, but there's a real gun law advocate out there. Got that beard. I don't know. He's a big one for what it is. He was talking about a guy bought oil filters and had Homeland Security come violate his rights, essentially. And I really got to take a look at that, along with some of that other information with Salty talking about the ISIS guy, or Salty talking about, well, both of them. And, you listen to this ISIS guy, it sounds like a regular fucking worker to me, not some terrorist. I mean, there's a case, physics. And honestly, when I see the rabbit and the bunny, or the bunny bouncing around, it makes you think about physics. And then readjusting that physics and renormalizing it. And I hate to admit it, but thank you for that service, kid. And I said it the first time, I just reposted it as a revamped video of somebody else watching Angry Form, because I want you to see the reaction. There's a few. There's Salties, there's Jordans, there's anybody who does a reaction video on that. I want you to start triangulating yourself on that position. Where you living? Is it good to be the Salty in that? Well, look what he did. Look at freedoms, constitutional, discriminative laws, the rules of engagement, command directives. You know where I'm going with that. So we got to be mindful about that. But let's take consideration the oil filter system and somebody violating their rights by coming at your house. Now, I didn't watch this guy. I'm just listening verbatim. He says in the video of the door, some guy doing it. I mean, awesome for Homeland Security to do that. Where was their follow through in the prep? I mean, it's like you gave away your car at some point in time, right? It's like, well, that's fine as long as nobody knew. And you could get the kid that can't shoot a rabbit, right? And then decides he wants to go buy oil filters and throw it on there. That is what you're paid to do. That is great. Thank you, Homeland Security. And then you get the training notes about the kid. You got isolation. It's a vacuum problem. It's entropy. That kid provided an entropy. The state for what they were doing was all wrong. The physics was screaming at everybody, including the drill sergeant, and the drill sergeant trying to force it through. Problem? It's a correct answer. The kid there probably does need to work a little bit harder. Jobs and resources aren't there in terms of timelines and situations. That's why I just sent him right to the general. You are this general's shadow now. The whole barracks failed. Let them hang up their tags, everything. All right. This is now your barracks. Figure it out. No, you don't get an E7 to help you. You have the success rating against everybody else, and then this, and then I will use it. Thank you. Inside of this system, I will use that terrorist and Salty sitting on this and tell people to open their fucking eyes. I will use this other guy talking about this and put myself into these situations against somebody talking, well, he should have got this, that, and the other. Well, you're right, you're not the judge. Doesn't matter, disqualified, dishonorable, honorable, whatever. You're not, none of that matters. So what did you do? You add fuel to the fire, You instigated, you discriminated, you pretty much actively took the FMA physics of that system and you broke it. To be fair, you should have. Salty or this other guy, myself included, step it up. You look at the recruit in ISIS and you have to ask yourself, in this militia, step it up. Homeland Security, you have to look at yourself inside here. Where did you leave this? Now that you know this information, what are you going to do to change that? And the guy was right. You have to limit that power. You just can't make that decision on oil filters and then just go through my entire list of things. You can't. You shouldn't be able to. You have to raise the standards on just oil filters. I could buy a pallet. But on the turn on that, of course, there's a turn on that, freedom to bear arms assembly. Look at this guy pretty much tear down the security features. These rules are dictated as brackets, so that kid that's about to use that as an oil filter silencer gets caught. And at the day, I'm buying these things and I've killed 20,000 people in the setup of the entropy, as long as the case says it's constitutional. And I'm just waiting for it to happen. And that's not how law is meant to be. This is not how this thing is supposed to be at all. This is the way it is, because it takes people like us to make that recognition and say, before it goes off, Your Honor, I'm going to take this one to trial. It takes us to say, stop the clock, we're going to think about that right now in camp. Because fuck everything else. Fuck gun training. Fuck it all. This was the problem, Schroestringer. Like, because there's that kid, Schroestringer, right? It's like if Schroestringer had this kind of mechanics in there set today, I bet you it'd have been different. Can't prove it. You know, these little numbers were +1, integrating this off of here. Didn't have to do it. Going to help those guys out quite considerably later at the end of the day when our setups are all done. All blues done, we got our count, we know that's what that is. If we had pallet problems with sizes, don't have to worry about it, take it off. There's your wave function. There's your uncertainty. There's your Lorenz, squishy cat. Maybe from the perspective of why I have pressure here, so later on when it's me over there, there'll be a lot less pressure. Somebody has the standard, somebody has those ideas. I know why they did that. I can see those functions. I know why, X, Y. Give it a little topology. That point's bouncing around right now, tracking the lights. So I just want to do it as a reminder. Obviously, Angry Core, probably about as much as I know. He knows me. Any of these other guys, any terrorist group that's out there, it's like, right, this is Chaplain, this is the recruiter, this is Sears relative to Walgreens training. I come to Jaeger. If I got to do it alone, that's what I'm going to do.